This video is going to be in multiple parts because when I sat down to film this, it went on and on and on and on, and I don't know how long it's going to be post-editing, so I thought it was going to be too long to do it in one go, so I'm going to release a segment of the video for the next few days until it's done to cover this topic. This topic is going to be a bit spicy. I don't like to talk politics, especially Indian politics, on my channel, because I'm not a resident of India and I didn't grow up in India, so my views are going to be more informed from an American political narrative, and that doesn't map onto an Indian political narrative. So I tend to not speak so much about the politics. However, we're going to be talking today about the Dismantling Global Hindutva Conference. Just as a disclaimer, I'm not making an opinion one way or another about Hindutva as a philosophy. I'm going after this conference because of its misrepresentation of Hinduism and the fact that it says it's not equating Hinduism with Hindutva, but it does. And the fact that this is not an academic conference, as we will see. It is a veiled attempt at having a bigoted event that is sponsored by major American universities, and that is problematic. I have a background as an academic, and I went through this website, and I gotta say that the lack of citations alone is alarming. So just know as you go through these videos, I'm not making a statement one way or another about Hindutva. I'm pointing out the logical flaws and why this type of discourse is problematic for Hindus in the global community. Namaskaram, Vanakkam, welcome friends, and a very happy and blessed Shri Ganesha Chaturthi to all of my viewers. I hope those of you who are celebrating are enjoying the holiday. Unfortunately, my video today is not so happy. It's a little bit of a rant, so just bear with me because I want to talk about something that is close to me, both in terms of my faith but also my background. As a professor. There is a trend in Western academia to vilify Hinduism via the trope of Hindutva. I was a professor, an adjunct professor. I taught religion. I also taught anthropology, and specifically medical anthropology. I left the university in 2013, and at that time there wasn't a lot of this discourse. This is kind of a new thing that has emerged over probably the last 5 or 6 years, and it's being spearheaded by Western academics and some Indian academics who have moved to the US. And it's this idea that if a Hindu stands up for Hinduism, stands up for Sanatana Dharma, or talks about wanting equality, such as in India, Hindu temples not being under the control of the government, you know, just like churches aren't and just like mosques aren't. If you talk about Hindu human rights, then you're an extremist. You follow Hindutva, you want to segregate society and oppress Muslims and Christians and everybody else. And well, we know that this is simply not true logically. This persists, and it's very trendy currently in academia, so much so that on this auspicious day, there is currently a global conference happening called Dismantling Global Hindutva. Well, the title alone is incredibly problematic. And I'm sorry, my academic friends, I'm going to kind of come at you here. Dismantling, this is academic jargon for overanalyzing through our own narrow lens and perspective. An academic conference where people are sitting around just confirming each other's own biases is not dismantling anything. That's issue number one. Issue number two is Hindutva as a philosophy, which emerged in the early 1900s and early 20th century. This was about uniting Hindu people who had been colonized by the British, and prior to that had been subjugated under 800 years of, at the very friendliest way I can say, is unfair Islamic law and rule. Hindutva has a context within Indian society. And what on earth Westerners are doing running commentary on a philosophy, a system, a perspective that they themselves haven't lived, I don't know. Especially since a lot of the left-leaning academic world is all about, representation and letting people have their voice. But I guess people can have their voice unless they're Hindus. Because if you're a Hindu and you have your voice, then you're a Hindu extremist. But these guys are coming in and trying to tell Indian society what Indian society should be doing. I will have my own opinions about the Indian political system, just like I have my own opinions about the American political system, my own opinions about the European political systems, but at the end of the day, I am an American. My point of view about what's happening in India politically is only that, and it's really not informed from a truly lived experience. So it's not my place to tell others how they should be running their culture or living their lives. Unfortunately, academia doesn't see it that way, so let's explore this conference. So let me just kind of round back around to the global Hindutva. They've taken what was originally something existing in an Indian context and are now applying it across the board to Hindus all around the world. I'm guessing they're saying global Hindutva because they're attributing Hindutva to people who are a part of the Indian diaspora. I don't really know. It's problematic. So I started looking, and I'll show some of the screen somewhere on this screen. I started looking at their website, and I thought I'd go through it with you because to me, it not only is prejudiced against Hindus globally, as a former academic, to me, this conference is completely disingenuous. This is not even a veiled attempt at being biased against Hinduism. It is outright obvious, and you'll see why as we go through this website. And I'm going to say this, shame on any academic who has signed off on this. Sorry, just how I see it. I knew this video is going to be controversial, so I apologize ahead of time, but this is my view. So if we go through the schedule, there's no actual descriptions of what the talks are about, but here are some of the titles. It starts with, what is global Hindutva? Well, okay, that's good. We should probably define this thing that we're going to dismantle. It's also interesting that they feel the need to start with defining this. Who is signing up for a conference about dismantling something that they don't know what it is? A lot of people. Because this type of conference fits a very biased academic left-wing ideology that is informed by Marxism. A lot of students are going to sign on to this because the professors are going to push it and they're going to go, oh yeah, Hindutva is bad. So they don't know what Hindutva is. They're signing up for an anti-Hindutva conference, anti-Hindu conference, but they have to first be told what they're dismantling. Okay, we can see the logical problems there. Then we have things like the political economy of Hindutva. Political economy within the social sciences and some of the humanities was an approach, a paradigm that emerged in the 1960s, looking at the interplay of exactly that, politics and economics and how it influences culture and language and religion, and in my case, what I was studying, public health. But there's no explanation as to what specifically about political economy and in what context, because a political economic analysis of a philosophy or a movement in the US is going to be very different than a political economic analysis of that same movement or philosophy or ideology in the Indian context. This is why global doesn't work. You have to contextualize it, speaking as a former anthropologist. Okay, caste and Hindutva, that's kind of like the low-hanging fruit for these guys. Caste is always their rallying cry, so I'm not even going to talk about that. Gender, sexual politics, and Hindutva. We're not talking women's rights alone. This is probably going to be extended to gay rights and trans rights and minorities in these groups, which is fine. However, this is once again a huge scope. So are we talking about trans rights in Varanasi, or are we talking about trans rights in San Francisco? Very different narrative based on location. Then we have contours of the nation. Once again, which nation? I'm guessing India, but this is the Global Hindutva Conference, so who knows? This one sounds promising. Hindutva, Science and Healthcare. I would read a title like that and go, okay, what's Hindutva? What is this thing that I had to have defined for me the day before, contributing to science and healthcare? I hope it's good. Knowing this conference, it's not going to be, though, so I'm not holding my breath. Hindutva propaganda in the digital ecosystem. I cannot wait until myself and this video get labeled as being a part of the global Hindutva movement that needs to be dismantled. I guess, guys, I'm a part of the propaganda ecosystem. Are you guys, like, noticing some of these, like, kind of academic flash words? Digital ecosystem, political economy. Hinduism and Hindutva. When I first saw this, I was like, okay, well, maybe they're going to make a delineation. Maybe they're not talking about what I think they're talking about. But in a few moments, you will see they are talking about exactly what I thought they were talking about, but we'll get to that. The final talk, and this, to me, is the most confusing. Islamophobia, white supremacy, and Hindutva. Okay. I'm going to, bet any academic is that white supremacists are not following Hindutva. White supremacists are not identifying as Hindu. White supremacists don't have any interest in what's happening in the Indian context. It's just, what? Oh, and then Islamophobia. So I'm going to hold a mirror up here to anybody in this conference. Why isn't there a global conference of dismantling Islamic terrorism globally? Dismantling, I guess, global Islamic terrorism. Why isn't that? Oh, we can't put Islam and terrorism together because that's Islamophobic. But we can certainly dismantle Hindutva, and as we're going to see in a moment, put Hindutva and Hinduism together. That's not Hinduphobic, because according to these guys as well, there was this big controversy not too long ago. According to these guys, Hinduphobia is not a thing. You should tell that to all the kids who grew up in the 80s in New Jersey who were beaten up for being Hindu. Just saying. Sorry guys, I did not realize how real this video was going to get.